I am Princess Nikki Broca and I will discuss our topic which touches on several critical points related to the socialization of gender in schools and its implications for gender equity. First is setting and lineup by gender. When schools separate students by gender, they indirectly convey the message that boys and girls should be treated differently. This division can contribute to a sense of inequality between the sexes. We have next ignoring sexual harassment, which means that when administrators overlook instances of sexual harassment, they fail to address the degradation of girls, allowing a hostile environment to persist. This not only harms the victims but also perpetuates a culture of tolerance for such behavior. Next, we have boys will be boys mentality. Excusing certain behaviors with the phrase boys will be boys perpetuates gender bias. This saying implies that boys are naturally prone to certain behaviors, which can lead to unequal treatment and expectations for them compared to girls. Next, we have academic achievement. Despite evidence that girls are becoming more academically successful, the classroom environment may still reinforce gender stereotypes. For example, girls might be praised for being neat and quiet, while boys are encouraged to be independent and assertive. These differing expectations can impact students' self-esteem and educational experiences, popularity versus academic performance. This talks about girls may be socialized to prioritize popularity over educational performance, potentially diminishing their confidence and motivation in academic pursuits. Always remember that these issues contribute to a gender bias in schools by reinforcing traditional gender roles and stereotypes. Addressing these concerns involves promoting gender equity, raising awareness about bias and its consequences, and fostering a more inclusive and respectful learning environment where all students are treated equally regardless of their gender. And so the following aspect of that matter will be going to discuss with my co-demonstrator, Miss Ladel Delatado.
How would you act if someone tries to kiss you against your will? Of course, you will feel scared and horrified. This situation is an example of a sexual abuse. Forcing someone or using someone to fulfill one's sexual desire is considered as sexual abuse. There are several issues that are present in schools, community, and home that can affect children. But let us put more emphasis on sexual abuse. The word sexual relates to the word sex, which involves physiological processes and activities connected with physical attraction or intimate physical contact between individuals. Abuse is defined as to misuse or to insult. When we combine these words together, it gives us the word sexual abuse, that is defined to be the sexual behavior or a sexual act forced upon a woman, man, or child without their consent by the use of force, threats, intimidation, and abuse of authority. Some examples of sexual abuse that are rampant today are rape, forcible sodomy, and fondling. Rape is forced sexual intercourse, including vaginal, anal, or oral penetration. Penetration may be by a body part or an object. Forcible sodomy is an oral or anal sexual intercourse with another person, forcibly or against that person's will, or not forcibly against the person's will, where the victim is incapable of giving consent because of his or her youth, or because of his or her temporary or permanent physical or mental incapacity. Third is fondling or groping, is the act of intentionally touching another person in a sexual manner without their consent. That are some examples of sexual abuse. Let us now put more emphasis on the involvement of child in sexual abuse. Child sexual abuse is the form of child abuse in which a child is abused for the sexual gratification of an adult or older adolescent. In simple words, it is when the child is the one who is being abused. It includes direct sexual contact, adult or otherwise older person engaging in indecent exposure of the genitals, female nipples, or etc. Asking or pressuring a child to engage in sexual activities. Fourth, displaying pornography to a child, or using a child to produce child pornography. We can often see this kind of situations in the segment of ABS-CBN, the MMK. There are certain stories that display child sexual abuse in the stories that shared by the people sending a letter, which is sad. If a child was sexually abused, what do you think he or she would feel? The child is more likely to commit suicide because of depression, right? Child sexual abuse is a risk factor for attempting suicide. The other form of sexual abuse is when the abuse is done by a family member. It is a form of incest and involves in more serious and long-term psychological trauma, which especially in the case of parental incest. Children often don't tell about sexual abuse, but sometimes they'll display behavioral, physical, and emotional changes. Many of these changes aren't specific to sexual abuse. They can happen with other kinds of trauma or stress, and they can vary by age. But it's important to be alert to these signs. There are different indicators about sexual abuse. There are different indicators of sexual abuse, and it is divided into two: the physical and the behavioral indicators. Here are some of the physical indicators: itching or pain in the genital area, vaginal discharge, infection, and anal bleeding.
When I was young, the abuse impacted me in the ways that I was not able to sleep at night. I had nightmares, flashbacks. I was unable to look at anyone in the eye. I was unable to trust anyone. I acted out a lot, having tantrums and a very bad temper. I just didn't want to be around anyone or just around in general. I didn't want to be here. And I would not show up to class. I wouldn't do my homework, which was funny because when they would talk to me one-on-one, I know they could see how smart I was. You just see these certain kids that stand out, these certain kids that act out, and I acted out. It was like a cry for help. It wasn't hidden, it was out there, and I was just waiting for someone to realize I was hurting.
The physical indicators can be observed in the person's body after the abuse happened because these are the effects of the abuse. Next is the behavioral indicators. First in the list is eating disorders, fear of someone, changes in attitude, self-harm or suicide attempts, and the abuse victim becomes a behavioral indicators are some behaviors that can be observed from a person after the abuse. So these behaviors that I presented is more likely to be the behavior of someone who was abused. If you observe these indicators to someone close to you, what will you do?
Today, we have a crucial topic to discuss: sexual harassment. Sexual harassment, like sexual abuse, is a serious issue that affects many people. Before we dive into this, it's important to understand the difference between sexual abuse and sexual harassment. We've discussed sexual abuse earlier, which involves non-consensual sexual contact. Now, let's clarify what sexual harassment is. In sexual harassment, It involves unwelcome sexual advances, comments, or behaviors that create a hostile or intimidating environment. It can occur in various settings, including schools. Sexual harassment is not limited to explicit advances. It can include various behaviors, both verbal and non-verbal. Sexual harassment can take many forms, such as verbal comments that make someone feel uncomfortable or humiliated, sending explicit or obscene message or images which can happen in person or in online. Non-verbal actions like lewd gestures or even staring, unwanted physical contact or touching, and requests for sexual acts or favors that go against someone's will. Where do you think sexual harassment occur? Sexual harassment can occur in various circumstances, such as workplaces, schools, or even online spaces. It's not limited to one specific environment. It can happen anywhere. Is there a specific type of person who is more likely to be a victim or perpetrator? No. Sexual harassment can happen to anyone, regardless of their gender. The perpetrator can be anyone, such as coworker, teacher, student, or even a stranger. It's not about the victim or perpetrator's gender, and it doesn't require that they are of opposite sexes. Today, we're going to explore various aspects of sexual harassment. First, the perpetrator can be anyone. Sexual harassment isn't limited to a specific group. It can happen with clients, co-workers, teachers, friends, and even strangers. It's important to recognize that harassment can happen among peers. Second, the victim doesn't have to be directly harassed. Sometimes, it's not just the person directly harassed who is affected. Witnesses can also be victims. Okay, how might witnessing harassment impact someone even if they're not the main target? If someone witnesses harassment, they might feel uncomfortable, scared, or anxious, even if it's not directed at them. It's essential to understand that witnesses can experience distress too. Third, harassment can occur in various places. Sexual harassment can happen in different settings, including schools, workplaces, and online. Fourth, perpetrator's awareness. The person causing the harassment might not realize they're being offensive or breaking the law. This is an essential consideration because understanding intent can be important in addressing the issue. It's not always about malice. Some people might be unaware of the impact of their actions. Fifth, harassed person's awareness. In some cases, the person being harassed may not even recognize that they're being harassed. This is important to consider because if someone doesn't realize that they're being harassed, they might not seek help or support. Awareness is crucial for individuals to identify and address the situation. 6. The repetition nature. Sexual harassment is often repetitive. Why do you think harassment tends to be repetitive rather than a one-time occurrence? Repetition can be a way to exert power over someone. It can be that the harasser thinks that they can get away with it, or they might be attempting to frighten the victim by acting in the same way repeatedly. The constant hostility or intimidation that repetition can produce. 7. Adverse effects on the target. Harassment commonly leads to stress, social withdrawal, and even health issues. Understanding this effect is crucial because it helps us empathize with the victim and take harassment more seriously. It's not just about the immediate harm, it can have long-term consequences. 8. No gender limitations. Sexual harassment can happen to anyone, regardless of gender. So, why is this important to emphasize? Emphasizing this helps prevent stereotypes and makes everyone aware that they can be affected. It promotes equality and reinforces that harassment does not discriminate. Lastly, no requirement for opposite sex. Harassment doesn't require the perpetrator and victim to be opposite sexes. It's important because it reminds us that harassment can happen in any gender combination, not just traditional ones. Okay, that was the end of our discussion about sexual harassment. Our discussion today has shed light on the multifaceted issue of sexual harassment. We've explored the various forms it can take, the different settings in which it occurs, and the significance of awareness on both the part of the perpetrator and the victim. We've also discussed the repetitive nature of harassment, its adverse effects, and the fact that it can happen to anyone, regardless of their gender or the gender of the people involved.
My part is to discuss the role of schools in child protection. Child protection is a paramount concern in society, and schools play a crucial role in this endeavor. They serve as the front line of defense against various threats to children's well being, including child sexual abuse. And now we're going to explore the significant role that schools play in child protection, emphasizing their capacity to teach protective behaviors effectively and identify children in need of help and protection. First, we will going to discuss the educational institutions as a platform for protective behaviors, covering two factors. First factor is effective teaching. Schools provide a structured and conducive environment for educating children about protective behaviors. They offer a systematic curriculum that includes lessons on personal safety, recognizing and responding to dangerous situations, and understanding the importance of consent. Trained educators are instrumental in imparting this knowledge to children, ensuring that it is age appropriate and easily comprehensible. Second factor, we have widespread reach. Schools have the unique ability to reach a large number of children, making them a central platform for promoting child protection. In many societies, attending school is compulsory, which means that the vast majority of children spend a substantial part of their waking hours in an educational setting. This extensive reach allows for the determination of essential protective information to a broad audience. Next, we're going to talk the special role of educators. First factor is knowledge and training. Educators are equipped with the knowledge and training required to address child protection issues effectively. They understand the signs of potential abuse, know how to approach sensitive situations, and are aware of the legal and ethical responsibilities related to child protection. Their training includes recognizing behavioral changes, physical indicators, and emotional distress in children that may signify abuse. Next, we have the second factor, which is long term observation. One of the unique advantages of educators in child protection is their ability to observe and interact with students over an extended period. Unlike other professionals who may have intermittent contact with children, Teachers spend a significant part of the school year with the same group of students. This prolonged interaction allows them to detect subtle changes in behavior and physical condition which could be indicative of abuse. Next, we're going to talk about the identifying children in need of help and protection. First, we have daily contact. The close daily contact between educators and students positions teachers and school staff in a prime position to identify children who require assistance and protection. When children face challenging situations, they may exhibit behavioral changes, academic struggles, or emotional distress. These signs often become evident in the school environment, making it essential for educators to be vigilant and responsive. Second is reporting mechanisms. Schools typically have reporting mechanisms in place to address child protection concerns. Educators are obligated to report suspicious of abuse or neglect to the appropriate authorities, ensuring that children receive the necessary support and intervention. This underscores the importance of schools as a frontline defense against child abuse. Always remember that schools are indeed at the forefront of child protection efforts. They possess the capacity to teach protective behaviors effectively and to a wide audience of children, given the substantial amount of time children spend in educational institutions. Moreover, educators play a special role in identifying children in need of help and protection, thanks to their knowledge, training, and the opportunity to observe children over an extended period. Recognizing the vital role of schools in child protection is essential in safeguarding the well being and future of the next generation. Next are the following way schools should prevent the child abuse in their circumstances. We have a lot to discuss. First, we're going to discuss the proper screening and training. So, schools should thoroughly vet and provide training for teachers, volunteers, and anyone with access to children. This ensures that individuals in contact with students are well prepared and trustworthy, reducing the risk of child abuse. Next, we have computer use protocols. Establishing protocols for school computer use helps monitor and control access, ensuring that students aren't exposed to harmful content or potential predators online. Next, we have computer use training. Educating both students and teachers on the acceptable and safe use of computers helps in protecting children from online risk and abuse. Next, we have environmental safety assessment. Schools should regularly assess their physical environment to identify and rectify potential hazards, making the school premises safer for children. Next, we have campus security. Implementing campus security measures such as visitor screening through the office helps prevent unauthorized access and addresses unusual incidents effectively. Another is parental involvement. Engaging parents in safety and security programs creates a collaborative approach to protecting children, both within the school and during their journeys and from school. Another is the child safety programs. Schools should choose or develop child safety programs that are age appropriate, educational sound, and designed to boost children's self confidence, enabling them to handle various situations. Next is comprehensive safety programs. Effective child safety programs incorporate multiple components repetition over several years and qualified presenters. These programs often include role playing, behavioral rehearsal, feedback, and active participation for students. Next is safety planning and design for women and girls. Safety planning in urban spaces is essential to create environments where women and all users can be healthy and secure. This design recognizes that the physical layout of public spaces can affect how women experience and use them. Next, we have safety planning for girls' education. Ensuring the safety of girls on their journey to and from school and within the classroom is crucial. This includes protecting them from various forms of violence, such as sexual harassment, intimidation, physical assault, and abuse. Remember that these strategies collectively aim to create a safe and secure educational environment for children, protecting them from various risks and potential abuses.
If we are going to put ourselves in the shoes of our parents, will it be hard? Protecting and disciplining your child at the same time might be hard for a parent, but there are certain ways that we can still ensure their safety. There are ways to ensure the safety of students in school. Now, let us focus on how we can ensure the safety of students or our child from these said issues at home. That is why it is important to make your children feel that they are important and you are always available for a talk. Be available when they need to talk. You should be honest and open with them when they ask difficult questions and always believe what your child tells you, no matter how unbelievable or difficult to believe it is. There are some preventive safety we can do in our children's life. Here are the following. First, encourage kids to talk about their day. It is really important. Children cannot be expected to understand when it is okay to say no or run away from an adult. This would be too confusing. Instead, build trust by regularly talking to them about their day. Make them feel comfortable raising any topic. Then, if your kids report any unacceptable behavior by others to you, it is your responsibility to take action. Second, become educated on sexual abuse. Get familiar with the facts about sexual abuse that is vital to educate yourself about sexual abuse. They can be very slick and fool you into thinking they are trustworthy, but there is always a red flag. That is just a little bit, but unusual. For instance, if an adult has many toys and video games in his house and several local kids go there every day, this is a possible red flag. If he doesn't seem to have any adult friends or activities, this is a bigger red flag. Check this person out. Have a conversation with him or her if possible. If he is on the sex offender registry, report him to the authorities. Fourth, know where your children are and who they are with at all times. Know your children's friends and their parents. It is very important to make sure they are reliable before you allow your child to spend time at their house. Teach children that the danger may come from someone they trust. That is the fifth. Tell your kids, bad touch is a bad touch, and no one gets to do it to our bodies. If anyone does bad touch, you go to a grown-up for help. When you are not sure about whether something a grown-up is doing is okay, Ask another grown up to tell you. The most important factor for your children's protection is a strong self esteem. Let them know how important they are to you. You should pay attention to your child before it's too late.
This moment, we're going to conclude our discussion on the prevention of child abuse by focusing on the role of our communities. Community also influences a lot the development of surrounding children's growth. So these are the following of rules of community to prevent the child abuse. First, know. Learning more about child rights and child sexual abuse can help you ensure the safety of children in your family, your neighborhood, and your community. For instance, knowing that your children have the right to be safe and protected from harm, we can recognize situations where children might be at risk. Let's say you're aware that a teacher or caregiver should never ask a child to keep secrets from their parents. Second, talk. Talk to your colleagues, friends, relatives, and family about the problem. Help break the silence around child sexual abuse. For instance, we can organize workshops or presentations where experts talk about child safety. And then we can encourage community members to discuss the topic openly. So how can we encourage discussions about child sexual abuse in our community? So we can organize community meetings or forums where parents, teachers, and community leaders can openly discuss child safety. This can raise awareness and make people more comfortable talking about the issue. So third, observe. Be alert to the behavioral and physical indicators of sexual abuse in children. Don't just hear children's voices. Listen to them. For example, we can educate teachers, parents, and other community members about these signs such as sudden changes in child's behavior, withdrawal, or unexplained physical injuries. We can stress the importance of listening to children when they express discomfort or fear. So how can we as a community be more observant and responsive to the signs? So we can offer training to teachers and parents about the signs and encourage them to take children's concerns seriously. If a child says that they don't want to be alone with a specific adult, we should take it seriously. Fourth is help. If you suspect a child of being abused, assist the child. For example, we can provide resources and safe spaces for children to seek help, and we can assure that they are trained professionals who can handle such cases. We can create local support centers or hotlines where children or their caregivers can report abuse anonymously. We should also ensure that local law enforcement and social services are trained to handle these cases with sensitivity. Fifth is advocate. Ask your child's school to incorporate personal safety curriculum and to implement a school child protection policy. Imagine a community that formed a committee dedicated to child safety. They advocated for personal safety programs in local schools and presented a strong case for stronger child protection policies at school board meetings. This led to the implementation of such programs and policies. Lastly is involve. Volunteer your time and resources to organizations working against child sexual abuse. So, how can we encourage community involvement? We can create community awareness events like charity runs or workshops and involve local businesses to sponsor or participate in these events. This can bring the community together for a common cause. So those are the rules of community to prevent the child abuse. Know, talk, observe, help, advocate, and involve. Our communities play a vital role in safeguarding our children, and together, we can create a safer environment for everyone. Remember, child abuse prevention is not solely the responsibility of one group. It's a collective effort. Teachers, Parents, caregivers, community members, and children themselves all have a role to play. By fostering a culture of awareness, open communication, and proactive involvement, we can significantly reduce the risk of child abuse in our society.